Hello, friends and family and people I don't know, and maybe future fans. This is Brittany Boles back with another chapter of my book, Finding Starlight. This is the true story of my life as I remember it, told through the lens of a past life regression session. This past life regression session really did happen here in New Hampshire a number of years ago, and it was really incredible. So, this book has been my life's work. I was reading it to you all one chapter, 1 week at a time until the pandemic happened, and we've taken a little bit of a break. So, last week I did a recap of the first 20 chapters. That's how far into this we are right now. 20 chapters in. So that recap is available as a refresh. Does have spoiler alerts. Does have triggers and all of that stuff. But you can easily catch up and meet us where we're at here. Those are up on my Facebook page or on my website, brittanyboles.com. Otherwise, we will get right into chapter 21, Rasta Paul. So, if you've ever wondered what your life's work looks like printed out, here it is. This is Finding Starlight, the whole thing. I printed it out right when the pandemic happened, thinking that I might not have the chance to otherwise, and wanting to continue reading with you all. So here we are. The whole 80,000 word manuscript printed. We'll see how this works. Chapter 21, Rasta Paul. We found ourselves flying along the spray of waves, breaking on a coral reef. The water danced delicately into the sky in a soft white mist over bright turquoise water. The island was a sliver of land in the middle of the sea, mountains green from fresh spring rain. Smiling at Katrina, I directed the cloud toward the shore. We watched my past self floating in the sea. Bye, I said, and instantly dropped into the experience of being my former self. I can't believe I live here, I said. I talked to no one in particular as I surveyed the forested peninsula and endless blue water. The sun was at the very top of the sky, bright white and hot on a clear blue backdrop. I splashed, twirled, and swam underwater, breathing through a snorkel mask. Beneath me was a living sea floor of coral, plants, turtles, fish. I went deeper, following a strange sound. The water was so clear I could see divers in the distance. Curious, I swam in their direction. Bubbles streamed from their masks, creating a rushing current of air. I swam into it and was transported to a different reality. I was swirling in an underwater cloud. No, 10,000 underwater clouds. All I could see or feel were bubbles and their giggling, tinkling, floaty energy. They were popping on my skin like champagne does on a nose, except it was my entire body. I swam above the divers, trying to see what they saw. I floated in and out of the bubble world above them. When they sank to deeper waters, I turned and made my way to shore, passing one young turtle and quite a few brightly colored urchins. Like a true local, I swam until the water was waist high and then stood up and removed my fins and snorkel mask. I shook out my hair and splashed my eyes to clear the fog before walking up onto the beach. My friends were laying in our apartment, which is what we called our spread of gigantic sheets layered with towels, surrounded by beach toys, coolers, and musical instruments. They looked like movie stars, sitting and drinking rum and basking in the sunlight. Have you ever floated in divers bubbles? I practically shouted at them with excitement. The beach was busy, being a Sunday, and a lot of friendly faces were around. Before anyone could answer me, a guy named Paul approached the apartment. I had seen him at a lot of beach parties and in Jana's courtyard. People called him Rasta Paul. Through the Coconut Telegraph, I already knew he was a white guy who grew up on the island with a normal, good family and decided to move into the bush. He often hung out on the boardwalk for busy tourist nights and sold coconuts cut fresh off the trees with Crucian rum poured in. Jana and I had a few Rastafarian friends. They were legitimate Rastas, too. Mostly vegan, peaceful, spiritual people who lived nature-focused lifestyles away from the mainstream. Jaw-loving, actual Rastas. Not the weird California hippie types. I knew from those circles that Rasta Paul really was a Rastafarian, and therefore he already had my deepest respect. It was a druidic lifestyle, and one that I admired greatly. "Good afternoon, miss." Paul tipped his head to me as he approached. "Good afternoon," I smiled and stood, opening my arms for the customary island greeting, a hug and a kiss on both cheeks. Then we sat and watched the beach in amiable silence. Some of my friends went to get another drink from the bar. They weren't as friendly with Paul as I was, and they didn't seem particularly excited that he had joined us. "May I wash your hair?" Paul suddenly asked. It was startling and strange, and it stirred something inside of me. "I made this hair wash from a flower of a cactus that only grows on the mountains out east," he explained. "I hiked up there and harvested them under the light of the full moon. They are powerful flowers, and the wash I made from them will purify you." He was earnest and intense, and the air grew hotter. "Purify you," he had said, "not purify your hair." My remaining friends had stopped talking and were now openly staring at the dreadlocked man sitting close to me, talking about magical flowers. I couldn't fight it. I was curious. "You want to wash my hair right now?" I asked. Everything started to feel magical, like a dream. "Yes," he said, and would not let me look away. My intuition flared inside of me, responding to what felt like the tide pulling at my heart. "Let's do it," I said, before I could change my mind. I was ignoring the other voice in my head, the one that said, "Don't just wander off with some strange man." I stood and walked on the beach, trailing just behind my mysterious friend. Past the open sand, tourists and locals, we walked into a mangrove patch. I noticed a bucket of liquid on the beach next to an old stone wall that jutted out into the sea. Paul led me into the water and bent my head back, wetting my hair. He ran his fingers through, gently combing out the many tangles until it felt like silk. His lips formed the words, "Follow me," as he turned and walked toward the bucket of cactus water. At the tip of the beach, just where tiny waves were touching the sand, he met me with the hair wash. I kneeled before him. He cupped a handful of slippery, fragrant liquid and poured it over my head. I closed my eyes, feeling rather than seeing him walk in a circle around my body as he slowly, rhythmically soaked my hair. "Stand and face me," he said. Now he looked more like an old and weathered shaman than a 20-something white Rasta. "Do you know why I chose you?" he asked. "No," I said, as the warmth of the sun dripped over my head in the silken fragrance of the wash. "You were glowing. Not as brightly as you could have been, though," he admonished. "I almost did not see your shine, in fact. There were others who seemed much brighter. I walked past you once already, but you did not notice me either." The great jaw, the spirit in the sky, made me turn around and see you. In that moment, as you smiled and laughed, a bright golden light burst around you. It only lasted for a second before fading back into a glow, but it drew me to you nonetheless. He had been speaking quickly and urgently, but now he stopped and peered through intense eyes at something that was me, but was not my body. Now that you have been soaked with this wash, the magic of the flower will purify your spirit. You are already shining now, more brightly than anyone I have ever seen. You will walk along the beach, touching both sea and earth. Walk in your own light. Walk until you feel and see what I see now. Others may notice your brilliance. Ignore them and continue walking. You will know when to find me. I was under his spell, which felt amazingly calm and expansive. I turned and walked as he had instructed. I did feel lighter, like I was floating rather than walking. Each pebble of sand seemed to be a different, equally vivid color, and the sound of the waves was like the breath of the earth herself. The warmth of the sun encased my body, reflecting both from the clear blue water and the peak of the sky. I turned and closed my eyes, facing the bright white light and breathing a long, deep, satisfying breath. I spread my arms out wide and embraced the sky, feeling golden light within my chest leap forth to meet the sunlight. I opened my eyes and saw indeed a brilliant sheen surrounding everything. I could look at nothing directly. My eyes glowed from within, and every tree, person, rock, and wave had the quality of a mirage. Following my instincts, a delicate pull like butterfly to flower, I arrived again at the clearing in the mangrove trees, where Rasta, sitting cross-legged on the sand, was waiting for me. He stood and led me wordlessly back into the water until my feet no longer touched the sea floor. He supported my body and bent my head backward, submerging me and lifting me in the same motion so that my hair streamed away from my eyes and our faces were inches apart, just above the surface. You are a queen, but you do not act as a queen should, he said, dunking me again. You are loose, going through your life totally unaware of everything around you. And I was under and back up again. You run around with all sorts of worthless men, demanding from them nothing, giving yourself away. Under, back up. I see you, with a beautiful smile on your face and wise eyes blurred and closed to the world around you. He was speaking harshly, like he was angry with me. His grip on my arm got firmer, so that he was both supporting me and drawing me closer. The water seemed to ripple with heat, and a flicker of fear ran through me. He pulled me to his hard, powerful body in one motion, his chest to my back and his head over my shoulder next to my ear. Do not give yourself away to these people, he growled. He turned so that we were facing the crowded beach. These people meant a lot more than just the lovers I had taken. Today, I see that you are not that woman I saw before. You truly are a queen, and you have been washed clean so that your light can shine brightly. He roughly pushed away from me then, swimming back to the beach, where he began to fuss at building a makeshift chair out of rocks and a stump. I took a few deep breaths, steadying myself. A little bit afraid, I was nonetheless still caught in his spell and curious about what would happen next. I swam back to the shore. He gestured for me to sit. I closed my eyes and did. He again began to run his fingers through my hair, combing out the long, sun-kissed locks. Silent music seemed to play, capturing the two of us in a smooth, vibrational rhythm. I peeked through lowered eyelids to see that he was now moving farther away from me, circling my body and combing out invisible threads as though they flowed from my stomach. I closed my eyes once more and saw brilliant, golden strands of light streaming through his fingers. He wove, combed, and stroked 1,000 individual strands away from my body in every direction until I was encased in a sphere of shining threads. When he was finished, he sat, legs crossed on the sand, watching me. For a few moments I stayed still and silent with my eyes closed, enjoying the image of the golden strands of energy. Then I opened them and looked directly into Paul's eyes. "Thank you," I said. "You will not forget me," he replied. "I expect that you will not forget to honor yourself as queen either." There we have it. Chapter 21 of my book, Finding Starlight, which we are still hoping to get signed by a successful literary agent, discovered by Reese Witherspoon so she can make it into one of her fantastic female-led films or series. Or get me on the Ellen Show. I'm noticing as I'm reading these chapters, by the way, that I must have printed out some older version of where it was edited, because this isn't exactly how the current version goes, which is actually pretty exciting. So ideally someday all of you, a couple hundred people that I can tell are following along, will pick up this novel when it is published. We'll watch it as a movie, and there will be nuances and things that you didn't get to hear the first time around. I'm certainly still always open to editing and making it new and better. So thank you for sticking with me through this. It's a crazy world out there, so I really appreciate you shining your light in whatever way it manifests. I appreciate you supporting me in this. And may we be inspired. May we be safe. May we be peaceful. May we be joyful. May we be well. I'll see you next week with Chapter 22, Bioluminescence. Until then, God bless.